Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so have you ever used Gmail, Netflix, or even stored photos on Google Drive? If so, congratulations. You've already used cloud computing. So let's understand what is the cloud and why is everyone talking about it. In this video, we're going to break down the fundamentals of cloud computing so that you can understand this game-changing tech. Let's dive right into it. Let's get to see. Okay. Right. So the first thing that we should be understanding is how exactly the cloud computing differs from the traditional IT, the infrastructure, or the how it used to work before, way before the cloud computing. Now, the way it used to work is, imagine a company, let's say 15 years ago, if they wanted to launch a website. They had to buy physical servers, set them up in a server room. You should be able to manage the cooling systems. You have to pay for the security, the electricity, and even before your application got launched, everything gets so expensive. It's time consuming, and then let's say, imagine your application is a big hit, and then you will have to scale it across the regions. Since it was all about the physical servers, handling the scale was a big pain. You have to set up the physical servers, and then the handle the networking, everything was such a tedious task. Now let's get to cloud computing, how it exactly works. Now imagine you will have to launch a website. It's all in you are able to do it right away from your seat. You don't have to purchase physical resources. You don't have to buy out anything right away. Rather, you will be utilizing the infrastructure which is basically provided by the public cloud providers like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or it could be even Google Cloud. So you're essentially paying for what you're using, just like how you usually pay, let's say for electricity or water. So you just pay for the amount of electricity that you use. There's no upfront cost to it associated with it. Just like that, the cloud resources are offered on rental basis. So it's more like you pay for what you use, and even if you have to scale it instantly, like the case that I've mentioned before. If you want to, your application is a hit and then you want to expand your user base, all you need to do is, make some configurational changes so that your application is also available for the users across the globe in a different region. So everything just happens in a click of few buttons. So that's the benefit that you get. So now let's try and understand few benefits. There are a wide variety of benefits. So listen, the first thing that it gets you is the cost saving, as you will not be paying any upfront costs, and then you'll also not be paying for anything that you do not use. It's more cost efficient, and you just pay for the resources that you just consume. And then there's scalability. Let's say there's an e-commerce website that you're trying to build. So instead of purchasing the physical servers even before the launch of this website or even before the sale, and then since it's a purchase of the physical servers, you may not need them right after the sale or after the sale happens. What cloud provides you is that you will just have to scale or use more instances, or you use more resources just during the sale, and then you only pay for that particular amount of duration that you have used, and then right after the sale you can scale it back down. So let's try and get to what these terms are, instances or scale. But for now, you can just understand it as uh, increasing the number of machines that are actually handling your request. So it could be, let's say you're maybe using an e-commerce website. So if there are 100 users on a website, not all 100 users will be 100 users requests will be coming to the same system. So it has to be distributed among multiple systems so that there would not be more load on a particular system. So let's try and understand these things later. But for now, it provides the scalability, and then it also provides the flexibility. What do I mean by flexibility? Is that you do not really have to wait for weeks together or even months together to set up your physical infrastructure and everything done. Rather, you can just deploy applications just in minutes, and you just have to develop and then launch it on one of these providers. That's it. It's accessible across. And then these cloud providers, they also invest a lot of billions in providing the security to your applications, to your databases. So these things provide a lot of security, these cloud providers. So all you need to do is ensure that the proper configuration is set, just so that your application is secure and robust. Now let's see some real world examples. You could probably pick Netflix. It's primary the video streaming service is primarily on AWS. So there's something called as the storage service. It is probably all these videos are actually stored on an NS3 bucket, and then these are retrieved byte by byte and then frame by frame. So everything happens, all this processing also happens via AWS. uh, and then if you consider Spotify or Zoom, so in order to deliver these things, or let's say a music, it needs to be stored somewhere, it needs to be processed by some machine, so some network transfer has to happen from the storage layer to your mobile. So all these things, all this infra is basically handled by AWS, although you write your own code on the top of it. But what helps drive these systems is AWS. So, yes. Okay. We've seen how exactly cloud replaces the traditional IT systems. What are the key benefits in doing so? Now let's understand what are the different service models that cloud offers, and then there's another important concept called shared responsibility model. So we'll try and understand what these are. Right. Now, before understanding that, let's find an analogy. Now, let's say I want to eat a pizza. The three different ways of doing so. One, let's say if it's a SaaS, which means that software as a service. It's one of cloud service model. No, it's more or less like a ready to eat pizza. So it's something like, you order a pizza, it gets delivered by a delivery partner, and then you open the box, eat it. You don't really have to worry about the ingredients, the recipe, or the oven, nothing. So it's more just ready to eat. And then you have PaaS, platform as a service. So it's more like you're not having a ready to eat pizza, rather you have a ready to make pizza. You have the pizza kit with all the necessary ingredients. So you have the dough, you have the sauce, you have the cheese. You should be having an oven to make the pizza. Now then comes IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. It's more like uh, nothing's ready, but everything's available. Let's say you want to make a pizza, you want to eat a pizza. So in the supermarket, you've got all the ingredients. So there's no kit as such over here. You need to buy everything, including the raw ingredients. Like you need to buy flour, tomatoes, everything. It's like that. You have control over everything. So as you can buy all the raw ingredients based on your taste, your flavor, everything. Everything is in your hands, and you're responsible. You're also responsible for everything. The word responsible here has quite a significant meaning over here, because that's what defines your security and everything. Now let's understand individually. Software as a service, like I mentioned, everything is fully managed. You don't really have to worry about anything. All you need to do is eat it right away or use it right away in case of the softwares. You don't have to worry about the maintenance, you don't have to worry about the installations, nothing. For example, Gmail or Office 365 or Salesforce or Zoom. So they are ready to have, and all you need to do is use them. That's it. You don't have to really worry about the patch updates, whether the service maintenance is done or not, or how exactly things work behind the scenes. Nothing. You just have to use it. That's what software as a service offers you. And next comes PaaS, platform as a service. So in this case, the provider, it could be a Heroku engine where you go ahead and deploy, or a Google App Engine, or Elastic Beanstalk. It's a service where you deploy instances. They provide you the infrastructure to do things. So the examples mentioned over here are the deployment engines. So they provide you the infrastructure. All you need to worry about is developing the code and then just deploying it in one of these machines where the infrastructure is provided. And then comes so uh right, and then comes infrastructure as a service. Now this is uh it's more like they just give you all the different things. They provide you the virtual machines, they provide you the storage, they provide the networking. You have to manage each and everything of it. So you will have to manage the OS upgrades if you want to do it. If you want to have applications, your own custom built applications, you'll have to manage your own applications which are present, which will be present either in one of the VMs. You will have to manage your own storage policies. You will have to manage your own storage tiers or the networking. So everything is done by you. You have got all the control, just like in case of the pizza analogy in the supermarket. You've got everything. It's up to you what all things that you choose to make your pizza good. And then comes shared responsibility model. So here, in case of infrastructure as a service, since you're having control over everything, you are primarily responsible for everything again. So whether it's a cloud provider or you're on premise, so it's up to you. The cloud provider will only be providing security to the cloud, but not to your own applications or to your own infrastructure or to your own data servers. So you are responsible for the security for the resources that you're using in the cloud. So it could be the operating systems or the applications or even the databases. So it's all on you. You will have to ensure that everything is tight and secure. So it could be the network policies that you write over it, who can access your systems, everything is on you. When it comes to PaaS again, so it's a ideally the provider takes more of the responsibility to handle whether the underlying OS or the platform, but you only have to worry about the application and the data. So let's say for example, uh, like I said, one of the let's say if you're using something on Heroku, the provider is only responsible for securing your application or ensuring that the system inside which your application is running is secure enough, or the OS is updated updated uh, safely without any pro issues. But what your responsibility is to ensure that your application is up and running. There's no bug, there's no data leak, or the passwords leaking from your applications. So it's your responsibility to ensure that you do not pass on the code which is having some bugs with the information getting leaked. So that's your responsibility. And then comes SaaS, where again everything is taken care. Like I said, everything is taken by the provider, nearly everything. So you don't have to worry about most of the things. Let's say you don't have to worry about the storage systems. You don't have to worry about the leaking data. You don't have to worry about how the OSs are being upgraded, how the maintenance is being done. Rather, all your responsibility is to ensure that your user accounts are not vulnerable. Like for example, in case of Gmail, which is a SaaS service, they may be providing everything, but if you're not using, a strong password to your Gmail account, it's vulnerable and it is prone to a cyber attack. So it is your responsibility is only to ensure that you are not using any, you're not leaving any weak links. In case of, if it's a user account or if it's any other service which is being offered as a SaaS. So the key takeaway here would be ensuring that the responsibility basically shifts as you move from SaaS to infrastructure as a service. So as you move to things where you have got more control, with more control, you get more responsibility as well. You should be taking more responsibility as well in terms of handling the things, regardless of the service model. And yeah, that's it, I believe, for this. And yeah, to provide the summary back again, IaaS is the infrastructure, PaaS is the platform, SaaS is the software. There you go. Well, let's also understand a bit more on the cloud deployment models. What are these? So, like I said, you may be having different offerings, different cloud service offerings. There are also different models, deployment models, which are in use. So, it could be a public cloud one, which is shared over the internet, and the examples could be the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So these are public cloud providers where most of things are shared across the internet. And then of course you can configure your own things, having your own VPCs and everything set up and secure your network. But ideally they are considered to be as public infrastructure providers, because it is the infra or the resources are being shared over the internet. And there comes the private cloud, where it is primarily dedicated to a particular organization or an entity. So you have got maximum control, but it also leads to maximum control also leads to higher costs, because it's being set up only for your organization. So let's say for example there's a VMware or an OpenStack. So they set up data centers especially or particularly to handle your own workload. So these are not accessible through the internet. So there would be a dedicated connectivity to access these resources which are dedicated to your own entity. And then there's hybrid cloud, where there would be a mix of public and private cloud. So let's say there's something, some sensitive data, or let's say maybe it's a banking application where the user's data is primarily very sensitive. It could be the PII data. So ideally, these are usually placed in the private data centers, just to ensure that there's no breach. And then the rest of the application may be running on a public cloud, which shouldn't really matter as long as it is accessing these resources securely. And then any scalable workloads are ideally preferred to have them on a public cloud, so that it becomes easier in terms of scaling, and it will not scaling would not be your bottleneck. And there can be multiple cloud deployment models as well, where just to ensure that, let's say for example, you're using all the services being provided by AWS, and then right away at after a certain point, if AWS increases the prices of all these services, you would end up paying a lot, and you will not be able to even migrate to a different system, because all your applications are tightly binded to a particular vendor, which which is called the vendor lock-in. So just to avoid that, what usually people do is, in multiple organizations or in any organization, they would try to uh, distribute these things across multiple, cloud providers, or try and prefer to use services which are cloud agnostic, so that they would not end up in a vendor lock-in situation, which is really hard. And then it also takes some few months to migrate again to a different cloud provider, just because you know you are in a situation where you're in a vendor lock-in. And then it also increases your costs if you're in such a situation. So having multi-cloud setup also leaves you an option to see which cloud has got good cost optimization and also the performance. Right. So to end this, if it's a public, since it's shared and not dedicated, you would get most of the things at the lower cost. And then if it's a private, it's a controlled environment, but a little expensive since it would be dedicated to your own entity or the organization. And then hybrid, it's the best that you could get. So it's more like having multiple options and then choosing the right ones, and then being able to jump from one cloud provider to a different one based on the performances or the optimizations or the cost efficiencies, or it could be even based on the resilience of the systems that each of the cloud providers. Thank. So whether to choose SaaS, PaaS, or the deployment model, whether to choose go for a public cloud, private cloud, it all depends on multiple uh, scenarios. Everything is dependent on the use cases that one gets to see, and that's it. So that's it. Let for this video. Thank you.